Tory Lanez just broke his silence in his first on-camera interview from prison, revealing never-before-seen evidence that changes everything. He claims this new evidence not only 100% proves his innocence, but also confirms Megan Thee Stallion has been lying the whole time. Now,
man, free Tory Lanez, man. We know you didn't shoot that girl, man. I went in her car or something else, but we ain't gonna do that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
the question is, would this evidence eventually help free Tory Lanez, or would it be rejected like all the previous attempts? Today, we're looking at the new evidence Tory says will free him, and why the legal system continues to ignore it and is planning to keep him behind bars for another 7 years. Just a few days back, the world got his first real glimpse of Tory Lanez since his imprisonment, and despite going through hell for the last few years, literally barely surviving a stabbing, he appeared to be in surprisingly good spirits. In this interview, he made some explosive comments that brought everything we know into question. For the first time on camera, Tory addressed the shooting directly and confronted what he calls the monster narrative, doing his best to clear the negative stigma surrounding his name, telling the interview point blank, "I have never been violent towards a woman, let alone shot one."
You might be owed $85,000 for your accident like I was, and not even know it.
Never been violent towards a woman. I would never hit a woman, let alone shoot a woman.
But the most important part of the interview was his claim of overwhelming new evidence. Tory and his lawyer, Crystal Morgan, argued that the courts cannot refuse these new findings as they've done before. New evidence they got from Megan Thee Stallion, believe it or not. While Megan was trying to punish those whom she felt went against her, she unknowingly revealed information that could possibly be used to prove Tory's innocence. You see, while Megan was in the middle of a separate civil defamation trial against blogger Milagro Grams, her team had to produce a massive amount of discovery. Because of this, she unknowingly revealed internal documents that Tory's team says were buried during his original 2022 trial.
I see the truth will come to light, and I saying the truth always will come to the motherfucking light.
Specifically, a medical record from Megan's defamation trial against Milagro Grams. This document was focused on the bullet fragments from the shooting. Tory's team claims this document proves something very suspicious was taking place since the very beginning. According to Tory, the records show that after the bullet fragments were removed, they weren't handed over to the authorities as they're supposed to do. Instead, they actually gave the fragments to a Cedars-Sinai security guard.
One claiming newly discovered evidence that they weren't provided during Lanez's 2022 trial, including hundreds of pages of medical records for Megan Thee Stallion, whose real name is Megan Pete, which they allege raised questions about the fragments removed from her foot after surgery. His team argues that the fragments were not provided ahead of trial and that this was a violation of due process.
We didn't have that chance. Or perhaps we could have questioned the doctors differently when they were on stand to impeach them, because it does look suspicious.
Now ask yourself, why in the world were Megan's bullet fragments handed over to a security team instead of given directly to the police? In most high-profile cases, the police are supposed to be right there in the trauma room to take evidence. But in this case, the fragments supposedly sat with a hospital guard named Derek Cervantes.
Yeah, that don't even sound right. The police is supposed to investigate it, get all the evidence. That's like going to trial with no murder. That's like going to trial for a murder with no murder weapon or no fucking, you know what I'm saying? No murder weapon or, you feel me? No type of DNA. Like, what the fuck? Man, that don't even make sense.
Before ever reaching a detective. In the world of forensics, once evidence leaves the hands of medical staff and goes to a third-party security team, the chain of custody is broken. Now ask yourself, how would we know if that guard was on someone's payroll? We have no idea who he was talking to that night. There is a chance that he could have been paid off. Honestly, nothing is off limits with the powerful people behind Meg. This is the insidious plan Tory is talking about. That alone raises a lot of questions, and to me points to an insidious, well-crafted plan to bring Tory down since the beginning. Think about it, this changes everything, because now we don't know if these fragments were altered or swapped out. Don't you think that's strange? To me, this proves that they planned to set Tory up from the very beginning. They know they couldn't turn those bullet fragments into the authorities because it would destroy the story they were about to tell. Because of this, Tory's legal team argued that the chain of command for logging evidence wasn't followed, and this is a textbook Brady violation. For those who don't know, a Brady violation is when the prosecution hides evidence that could potentially clear a defendant. If the jury had known that a random security guard was handling the primary physical evidence in the case, Tory's lawyers could have argued that the evidence was tampered with or even swapped. But why did the prosecution keep this a secret? And more importantly, why is the court still saying it doesn't matter?
We've not only that I was wrongfully convicted, but the amount of new evidence that has emerged since that trial, I think, has been overwhelming.
Now, this is where things get really suspicious. You would think that once a document like this comes to light, showing a security guard handling evidence instead of the police, the court would immediately call for a retrial, right? I mean,
Hey man, I know crooked when I hear crooked, man. This shit don't sound right. It don't add up or none of that. None of that.
we're talking about the chain of custody here. If the fragments were passed around by people who weren't supposed to touch them, how can we trust anything that was presented in that courtroom? That alone should have given him a well-deserved retrial. But here's the thing, when Tory's team brought this to the California Court of Appeals in November, the judge didn't just ignore it, they used a legal loophole to shut him down. Despite all the evidence Tory's team presented, they brushed it all off and called it a harmless error.
You know, Megan Thee Stallion, she got them lawyers, man. She got them lawyers. Tory had them lawyers too, but the lawyer that Tory hired, she ended up like just leaving the case because Tory wouldn't accept like a plea deal because he know he wasn't guilty. So you feel me? That don't even sound right either.
Think about that for a second. The system is basically admitting that mistakes were definitely made, admitting that the prosecution purposely didn't hand over everything they were supposed to. Yet, we are supposed to believe that they were operating correctly, but then they have the nerve to say it's harmless because it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the trial anyway.
Tory was guilty before that trial even started. There's even like a clip of Megan Thee Stallion when that shit first happened, and Megan Thee Stallion was like, "No, I didn't get shot. I stepped on glass." And then her whole narrative changed. Shit crazy.
How does that make any sense though? I think we can all agree that if the jury had known how the evidence was mishandled, it would have affected their perspective of how they saw that evidence. According to the judge, even if you take away the suspicious medical records, and even if you ignore some of the questionable evidence the prosecution used, they still believe the other proof was too strong. They're pointing at that jailhouse phone call where Tory apologized as the reason nothing else matters. But let's be honest here. Although Tory did apologize, he never admitted to what he was apologizing for. Most people automatically assume the apology was for shooting Meg. But why would he do that? Honestly, think about it. If you committed a crime against someone that you know could get you double digits in prison, why would you destroy your chances of defending yourself in a trial by calling someone involved with the incident and apologizing for it? That's the easiest way to get convicted. He might as well have turned himself in for the shooting right there and then. Instead, Tory has always remained firm that he didn't do anything to Meg. I believe Tory was apologizing for sleeping with both Meg and Kelsey, not for shooting her. The prosecution never played a recording where Tory said, "I'm sorry for shooting you." All he said was sorry. They then took a man's guilt over his personal life and twisted it into a confession.
They ain't gonna lie, Tory like he fucked up for that. Like, I mean, he fucked up for calling Megan Thee Stallion saying sorry. Cause you know they always record the phone calls, bro. They go use anything and everything they will against you, even though he's probably still would have been found guilty. But shit, nigga, I ain't saying sorry about shit, man. Fuck.
For a violent crime. The judge also claimed that Megan's emotional testimony on the stand was more than enough evidence to discredit the value of his new claims. But Meg's testimony shouldn't be used to discredit this new evidence. She literally told first responders at the scene of the shooting that she stepped on glass.
So how did that happen to you? Glass? Where?
Where we were coming from. Hey, can we get a sheet for That's the only place you got shot at? That's the only place you got shot?
I didn't get shot.
Oh, you did it?
No, ma'am. I mean, no, sir.
If you were sexually abused while in a juvenile detention facility, you may be entitled to $580,000.
Then, it turns out that the so-called bullet fragments were mishandled. Honestly, she's the person whose credibility should be in question. Now, obviously, she's not going to say anything that makes it look like she is not a victim. I honestly think she has given more than enough reasons not to be believed. She has lied since the day she claimed she got shot. She also lied during the Gayle King interview, and for all we know, she is lying right now. We are not inside of Megan's head. We don't know whether she is lying or being honest. And
then she got my boy Klay Thompson, like, you know what I'm saying, not even playing basketball, right? Like, you know what I'm saying, niggas going 0 for motherfucking 10 and shit, like, you know what I'm saying? She ruining lives, like, left to right.
That's exactly why we should stick to the evidence. Evidence that Tory is trying to present. That's why I think her testimony shouldn't be used as a reason to throw out Tory's new evidence. To the court, those two things are like a shield that protects the entire case from being reopened. But ask yourself, if the case was so solid, why did the prosecution feel the need to hide 300 pages of medical records in the first place? Why go through all that trouble to keep the defense in the dark? It seems like the system is more worried about building this Tory is guilty narrative than they are about finding out the truth. Some would say that they just don't want to admit they got it wrong because of how high profile this case is. I think it's because there's likely a hidden hand behind the scenes that wants Tory to stay exactly where he is. They've already painted Tory as the villain, and now they're using these technicalities to make sure he never changes that perspective. They're telling Tory, it doesn't matter what you find now because you should have found it 3 years ago. But how can you find something that's being hidden from you? This is the reality Tory is currently in. He's showing us the receipts, he's showing us the inconsistencies, but the gatekeepers are doing everything in their power to keep the public from seeing it. But if you think the medical records were the only thing they were hiding, think again. We have talked about Tory's driver Jaquan Smith before on the channel. Since the shooting happened, people have been asking, where was the driver during the trial? Why didn't the one person who was actually in the car that night testify? Well, in 2024, Jaquan finally broke his silence in a sworn affidavit. And what he said changed the entire narrative. He claimed that he didn't just see a scuffle that night. He saw Kelsey Harris with the gun in her hand. He described a chaotic scene where Tory was actually trying to disarm Kelsey to stop her from shooting Meg. The exact opposite of what he's accused of. But just like everything else that proves Tory's innocence, this was never allowed in the trial. Not because he didn't testify, but because they didn't allow him to. Jaquan says he wanted to tell his story to the jury back in 2022, but he claims the district attorney never called them, and Tory's own legal team at the time decided for whatever reason to keep him off the stand. The court used this against Tory in their November 2025 ruling. They basically said, since your lawyers chose not to use him then, you can't use him now. But think about who benefits from the driver staying silent. If Jaquan was gonna say he saw the gun in Kelsey's hand, then it would have been reasonable doubt. Why would a defense team pass that up? It makes you wonder if there were people behind the scenes steering this whole ship. And then the whole DNA side of this is what Tory's team has been bringing up since day one. They're pointing to reports that says only 0.01% of the DNA on the weapon matched Tory Lanez. Think about that number, 0.01. In any other case, that would be called inconclusive at best or exonerating at worst. But during the appeal, the prosecution hit back with a 31-page report from Alex Spiro, Rock Nation's super lawyer, that argued that even if the DNA was...
He called that nigga Rock Nation super lawyer. God. This shit crazy.
Inconclusive, it didn't mean it wasn't him. They're leaning on a 90% likelihood that the shooter was a male. But likelihood isn't certainty. We are gonna convict a man and steal 10 years of his life because of the likelihood of the shooter being a male? Come on, man, give me a break. This is a clear pattern we have seen since the start that we keep on seeing to this day. Whenever Tory brings hard facts like 0.01 DNA match or an eyewitness who saw someone else with the gun, the system counters with inconsistent evidence like the phone call or a vague DNA likelihood. They're using any and every method to bury Tory's attempt at redeeming himself. It feels like they aren't gonna let a little thing like DNA or an eyewitness.
Man, they trying to bury that nigga Tory. It's like no matter what he do, most of the evidence that if it was an average person and not a Megan Thee Stallion situation, and you know Megan Thee Stallion is assigned to Jay-Z and shit, like, you know what I'm saying, so she got them lawyers because she got them Jay-Z lawyers, so it's like, you feel me, it's like even if he is innocent, but even if, you know what I'm saying, niggas didn't have them Jay-Z lawyers and shit, the shit probably wouldn't look like this. If she wasn't signed to Rock Nation, this whole shit would not even happen.
Get in the way of the story they've already told the world. Think about it. Megan literally sued a small blogger because she didn't want to take her side. A person who in the grand scheme of things truly has no influence. Yet, Megan aimed her sights at her and didn't stop until she was destroyed. This, to me, is just more...
That's guilty conscience, because it's like Megan Thee Stallion wants to sue a reporter slash blogger that was at the courthouse and wasn't taking sides with Megan Thee Stallion. So Megan Thee Stallion decides to sue her for defamation just from posting on TikTok. that's how you know she guilty, because nobody that's actually telling the truth is going to sue somebody just for, you feel me, having their own opinion.
Evidence of a conspiracy to take down Tory Lanez. A conspiracy of what, you may be asking? To stop an artist who managed to break free from the record label's control at the height of his career. The labels couldn't have that. So no, I don't think it's a coincidence that although it seems like Tory has proven his innocence, the courts still see him as guilty. He's just an example of what happens when you try to stop the dance with the devil in the middle of the song. Well, I'm gonna end this one here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Man, that shit crazy, man. Let me know what you guys think. You guys think Tory Lanez is innocent and Megan Thee Stallion just capping? You think just because she signed to Jay-Z and, you feel me, she got them Jay-Z lawyers, that's why she won that case? Let me know what you guys think, man. We out of here though.